Good morning, everyone. Um, as you can see from the title, we are going to be discussing the conclusion to the BRICS summit that was held in Johannesburg, South Africa, during this week of during the this week from the 22nd of August to the 24th of August, 2023. So during the summit, uh, pre pre the summit or before we got to the summit, there were a lot of talk around what the BRICS bloc and the BRICS countries are planning, especially regarding de-dollarization, and because the BRICS countries were discussing creating their own currency. So, and another thing, President Vladimir Putin was also expected to come to South Africa, but he later decided to not come because of his pending arrest warrants for anyone that captures him. So South Africa was in a very precarious position of arresting President Putin, who's also part of who is also who's the president of Russia, and Russia is part of the BRICS bloc. So pre the summit, the president, some say the president of South Africa went to Russia to speak to President Putin, although um, the former president of South Africa, President Zuma, who was also part of the founding fathers of the BRICS bloc, um, he went to Russia because of medical reasons. So it's stated, and a lot of people dispute that, as after him going to Russia, it came then after that, it came to be that President Putin decided not to come to South Africa. Um, a lot of people speculate as to if he was scared of being arrested, or he just wanted to protect the the people attending the conference, or to maintain the that the conference goes according to plan, and that him being there doesn't distract from the overall objective of the conference. So he decided not to come, and his I think second in command, um, let's see, I think his second in command, um, decided they decided with his second in command to for him to be the one who's going to come. So um, let me just check here. I want to search his name. Um, okay. Uh, see. Um, it's my first time streaming, so if you please wait. Um, well, I'll try to figure this out. I'll just like I'll just lay out my overall thoughts on the whole BRICS block BRICS bloc summit and what the BRICS bloc influence will be in the future and what it will mean for the US dollar, as a lot of people are speculating that this means the death of the dollar, and that these countries are teaming up against the dollar or against the USA or the West. Um, just to lay out a couple of things, I'm myself from South Africa, so South Africa is part of the BRICS bloc, and South Africa was the host for the 15th BRICS bloc that was held in 2023 this year, which has just concluded this week. So my thoughts are especially regarding the de-dollarization that's heavily being speculated, or a lot of people are anticipating for the process to take effect. Um, some are expecting it to be an immediate, and some are expecting it to take effect a bit later on. And during the summit, there was very little talk, or very minimal talk, of a new currency, um, especially being reported in the news. There wasn't any talk of any new currency. Um, the major thing that just happened is um, the new countries that were accepted into the BRICS bloc. Um, there were around 42 applicants. Um, let me just try to. I want to search. Go.com. I want to search this. Um, let me just search. Okay. Um, okay. Now let's search for the applicants. Applicants. Let's just say BRICS applicants. Um, so these are at the top of the page of the when you do a Google search. It shows the countries that were accepted into the BRICS bloc, which is Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. Um, full membership will take effect on the 1st of January 2024. Um, let's just check which are the other countries that applied, which should be expected to join maybe in the next, possibly in the next summit or before that. Um, let's just, uh, fortunately, this is not scrolling down, and I want to scroll down. Uh, okay, so, but there were uh, number, source for number of new BRICS applicants. Um, now it's scrolling down. Now it wants to scroll down. the new candidates. Um, but yeah, as you can see, so the new countries are Argentina, 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 yes, um, the UAE, Ethiopia, um, just want to, BRICS, new countries, man. Alright, okay, so the countries are Saudi Arabia, Iran, Ethiopia, and oh my God, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Ethiopia, Egypt, Argentina, and the UAE. So you can say most of these countries are mostly Arab countries, as Ethiopia is an African country, but with a huge Eastern influence, as Ethiopia is obviously at the easternmost parts of Africa, more specifically at the Horn of Africa. So Saudi Arabia, Iran, Ethiopia, the UAE, Egypt, those are Arab countries mostly, with the exception of Argentina. Argentina is um, in South America, um, but they are obviously facing an issue of disinflation from the last I heard. So they also have a problem with their own currency, and they are obviously looking to better their chances of faring in the new world that's currently being created. Um, and the creation of the BRICS bloc and expanding it are countries that oppose the West being mostly responsible for the new um, for the West leading the development into the new world, and using, and especially they see most of the BRICS members see the dollar as using its power um, to push other countries and push a certain agendas on other countries, because they their countries they are for a variety of reasons, such as their currencies being weaker, um, due to poor leadership, um, and the West mostly receiving support from the other Western countries, which have a vested interest in seeing the dollar win, because the dollar winning also gives them power of the other weaker nations. But something interesting that I saw was that Saudi Arabia, Iran, Egypt, and the UAE, that most of these countries have, like more especially all of the, mostly 80% of the BRICS countries, or let me just start by saying the what made the dollar more acceptable and the preferred currency of exchange amongst most global trade was because of its acceptance and its strength. So if you look, it's and so that is part of that global mindset and being able to just move around anyway because because you have to use the dollar as a medium of exchange, which made the dollar more stronger, facilitated a lot of or gave the West a lot of leverage in terms of using that to influence and shift global perspectives and just bully other countries, some would say. Um, so if you look at so that made the the capitalist system more attractive to more people, and globalization is part of the Western mindset or Western perspective that the world must be more global, um, and pushing off all sorts of Western ideologies. So it's good for trade. The dollar was good for trade, or it's still good for trade, but it becomes a problem when it takes a more political, um, when it becomes more political in terms of influencing the world. But what's interesting is most of the countries in the BRICS bloc are are going to use separate currencies in currently, as no new currency was announced. So these countries are still going to use their own currencies to in their medium of exchange, which is going to benefit each country involved and is going to slightly halt the the like the dominance of the dollar. So at this point, we are looking at a not so a very we are looking at a very distant situation of when the dollar is going to take the back seat. Um, as another thing that you will see amongst the BRICS countries, these countries are very saturated or very different in terms of their political ideologies, which is I think is going to is the major force or reason in the first place for them to join BRICS, because they have their own view and the dollar wants to enforce or force these countries to adopt views and ideologies or concepts or societal norms that they don't agree with. But as it stands, the dollar is very far from being dethroned as the major medium of exchange, as I think the political landscape or landscapes of all these countries are going to have a major influence of them adopting this new currency and this new way of living. But that is yet to, I am still yet to make a conclude that it is at least 10 years to 20 years from happening, because yeah, these countries have been heavily involved in war, especially Iran. Um, Argentina has its own problems in South America, and yeah, the U.S. is heavily involved with Saudi Arabia. And they want their oil. They use their oil. They are major suppliers of oil. So as it stands, the relationships of all these countries and their political landscape is going to be a major major obstacle that they are still going to have to lay out and reach some understanding between them. Um, yeah, so later, when further information comes out, maybe later this year, I'm going to go back and revisit this um, with a more defined approach. For now, I was just laying out my current view of the whole situation. Um, so further on, I'll be making some videos on the financial markets, as that's where what I'm mostly interested in. Um, and maybe some more laid back, relaxed news. Going to be talking a lot more about South African politics or South African media, as the South African media um, is not very um, is very is very lopsided to a certain demographic or group. So I'm very interested in dissecting that a lot. I won't be making no documentary or things like that. It'll be just now and then discussing these issues. Sometimes, if something interesting comes out of the war in Russia or the USA, I'll make a live stream. Um, Please subscribe to the channel and like. Yeah, thank you. Bye. Bye, 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 everyone.